Federal election 2019 wrapped up, of course, this week with a Liberal minority government. All campaign long, we've been hearing what the artificial intelligence algorithm Polly thought Canadians cared about. With the ballots tallied, how did she do at predicting the big picture and some of the 338 smaller pictures that played out on Monday? Back for a final look, we welcome Erin Kelly, the CEO of Advanced Symbolics Inc., and she's joining us via Skype from San Diego, California. Erin, it's good to have you on TVO tonight. How are you doing?
Very well, thanks.
Excellent. Just before we show the numbers, I still get lots of people coming up to me saying, you know, that Erin Kelly from Advanced Symbolics, how do they do that thing again? What is it with the artificial intelligence and how does this work? So take 30 seconds off the top and just remind us how you do what you do.
It's very similar to how all research is done, even phone polling. The main thing you have to do is get a representative sample of the population. You want to make sure that every ethnicity, age group, income, etc., are represented in your sample. In this case, we're getting that sample off of social media, so we're getting much larger sample sizes than you would traditionally have in traditional market research. So in this case, we had just under 300,000 Canadians from across the country chosen for their ability to represent the larger population.
Understood. All right. We are now going to show a series of 3 graphics, which I'll describe in some detail for people listening on podcast. And these are, starting with this one, this is the national seat projection that you gave us, which showed the Liberals in a range between 116 and 173, but essentially at 145. The Tories at 123. The NDP at 48, the Bloc at 46, and the Greens somewhere between 1 and 5, and you have the possibility there of a couple of independents and a People's Party. Now let's flip that over, and this is what the national seat projection was on Sunday. So the last one was Saturday. This one is Sunday, the day before the election, and you could see that things have changed. You've got the Liberals now at 155, Tories at 118, and then let's roll to Monday. And this is what the actual election results were. 157 Liberal seats, 121 Conservatives, 32 Bloc, 24 New Democrats, 3 Greens, 1 Jody Wilson-Raybould, and nothing for the People's Party. So let's start with this. How would you characterize the accuracy with which Polly did her job?
She was phenomenal. I mean, I can't say, we were so over the moon. Even though I was in San Diego the night of the election, we Skyped with our team. We had the team all together on Skype as we watched the results come in. And if you could have seen this webinar, people were just cheering. We were so over the moon with how well she performed. And you can just see that Polly is getting better and better with every election that she does.
How is that, or why is that?
She's getting better because she learns every time. So, for example, she has learned that people new to a political party will have different voting patterns. What I mean by that is political converts. So people who are choosing to vote for a new party for the first time have a different voting pattern than people who are sticking with their traditional party. We learned from the Ontario election that, as you might recall, some of the candidates like John Fraser pulled their branding from their party. She learned to compensate for that. So she learns, because she's an AI, she's an intelligence. So she learns and gets smarter every time, just like a person does, except at a much higher power.
You're referring to the fact that John Fraser was running in the Ottawa area, not with red signs and not as a kind of a Kathleen Wynne Liberal, but rather almost as an independent. And you're saying the AI picked that up and therefore called him to win, which he did. Have I got that right?
Well, she didn't catch that in the Ontario one, but now she has learned that and absorbed that into her algorithm. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. We could see you're very close on the Liberal number, very close on the Conservative number. In the days before the election, you had the NDP significantly higher than they turned out to be on Election Day. Do you have a sense about what happened to the NDP over that last weekend of the campaign?
Yes, actually, so we've gone back and we've looked into what happened, and it's quite interesting. So a number of things happened. First of all, people got scared as we got closer to the date, especially the weekend before. It was really interesting because both Mr. Trudeau, and I think this was strategic for the Liberals, they started to say that the Conservatives were polling higher and that there was a chance the Conservatives would win. For some reason, the Conservatives didn't catch that, and they started to say that too. The electorate got scared. Those people who did not want the Conservatives to win pulled their vote from the NDP and went Liberal at the last minute. The other thing that plagued the NDP, and it's always been a bit of a problem for the NDP, is they have trouble getting out the vote. So their electors or their supporters tend to be one of two groups: young people who are less likely to come out to the polls than older people are, and political converts. So again, Polly has to learn the political convert side a little bit better, but a political convert, somebody who has never voted for that party before. You see, the Liberals and the Conservatives, a lot of these people have been voting multiple elections for the same party. Their grandparents voted for the same party. So the Liberals and Conservatives have these people in their database and can get them out to vote. They're calling them the day of, they're driving them to the polling station. The NDP don't know who their new converts are. They don't have these people in their database, so it's harder to get them out to the polls. So we saw that NDP supporters in this election were less likely to come out, even more so than in the past.
Okay, let me follow up on something you said in the midst of that answer, and that is, I do recall hearing in the dying days of the campaign, Andrew Scheer saying things like, we need a strong conservative majority government to et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I wondered what kind of impact that would have. Did Polly pick up on what the impact of his saying that, of his putting the notion of a Tory majority out there, what that would do?
Yes, she did. And that had more damaging effect to him than his GST, his odd GST claims, the Kinsella issue, you know, when people said, why did you hire this firm to make the PPC look bad? Those things did not have an effect on his vote, but him saying that we might win a majority government worried a lot of people on the left, and they switched their votes to the Liberals. So
in hindsight, it was a mistake. It was a strategic mistake for them to be musing aloud about a conservative majority government, because I guess the people weren't ready to hand them one. Is that it?
They were not ready to hand them one. It was a big mistake. Trudeau played that and said, yeah, I think they could get that. And that got people even more nervous.
Okay, gotcha. Where did you see, I mean, we've talked about this a bit in the past, but now that it's all over and done with, maybe you can just sort of put the icing on the cake here. I can't recall an election campaign where there was so little voter volatility as this one. The two main parties seem to be tied virtually all the way through the campaign. Where, if anywhere, did you see the most change happening during the course of the writ period?
The biggest change was Quebec. That was Quebec and Ontario. We always said, you'll recall the whole time that we were on your show, we consistently said it was going to be the Liberals. When it started, it was going to be a Liberal majority, and then Brownface changed that and you know, got people thinking about all the other gaffes of the Liberals over their term in office. But it was always going to be a Liberal government. It got closer and closer the closer we got to Election Day, but at no point did Polly see it becoming another party.
So in that respect, was this, quote unquote, an easy election to predict?
It wasn't an easy election to predict, but it was predictable, right? And I find it, you know, it's interesting because everybody was saying it was so close. That's why being able to look at the seat count and do the ridings it's becoming almost a necessity if you want to do polling. We saw it at first with the Trump election in the States, and that's been consistent. It seems that elections are getting closer and closer. And so obviously when it's a minority government, it's a little bit harder to call. But this was consistent for Polly that she always saw it as a Liberal win.
Got it. Let's try to understand a little bit more about what the country said. You know, as I looked at the results, certainly Justin Trudeau was punished somewhat. Andrew Scheer was somewhat disappointed because, after all, he was musing about winning the whole thing. In the end, he didn't win. The NDP certainly lost a lot of seats that night. The People's Party's basically wiped out. Only the Bloc did better. What was Polly picking up in terms of online reaction to the fact that this is one of those weird elections where almost everybody lost?
Yeah, so, you know, I think the parties have to go back and do a lot of soul searching on this. What was very clear is that the electorate was really interested in issues. They were really interested in Quebec, it was pipelines and the environment. Each region had their issue. But what was consistent is that people wanted to talk about issues, and the politicians spent the whole time wasting that opportunity talking about scandals and things that we saw people didn't care about. And, you know, I think that's old style politics. It worked in the past where we focus on scandals and slagging the other guy. It has been very, very clear when we look, even post the election, the discussions are substantial. People are having really substantial discussions about issues that I don't think the politicians appreciate.
That is an important lesson for media to understand then, that while we may obsess, we media types may obsess on the so-called scandals that happen during the course of a campaign, Are you saying the voters are really not that interested in it? Because presumably we're covering it because we think they're interested in it. Not the case.
They're not that interested in it. We really looked at the the scandals of the weekend before, with the Conservatives hiring Kinsella's firm and the gaffes about the GST and an NDP Liberal coalition. People didn't care about that. What was really interesting to me, we went back and we looked the day after the election. People were still highly engaged on the issues, and one of the biggest issues after the election was, of course, this close vote. The fact that the popular vote was so close. In fact, Polly had the the Conservatives were slightly ahead in the national vote, but they didn't get the seats. And so in Alberta, we had 4% of the population of Alberta talking about that the day after the election, saying we need political reform. That's how the day started. As the day progressed, it was interesting because people started to say, wait a minute, if we brought in, say, proportional representation, any party who can't get at least 40% of the vote is we're going to end up with Italian parliaments. And people started having this deep discussion. By the end of the day, people didn't want political reform. So people are having these, they understand the issues. They're having very intellectual discussions. It's very different today because people get on social media and they can talk for hours until they really understand a topic. And I think that our political class don't understand. It's not like 40 years ago where, it was sound bites, and people are educated. They're much more educated now, and they want to have those substantial discussions. And I think the party that can figure out how to do that in our soundbite environment, but be substantial, will be rewarded for that.
Very helpful advice. Erin, as always, we want to thank you for spending so much time with us during the writ period here on TVO. And thankfully, we're in a democracy, and the next election is not that far away. So we hope to see you again down the road before long. Take care.
Great. Thanks. You too.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. CPA Ontario is a regulator, an educator, a thought leader, and an advocate. We protect the public. We advance our profession. We guide our CPAs. We are CPA Ontario. And by viewers like you. Thank you.